Hello, Lynn Adams here. Welcome to part 3 of our training process. This is National Association for Professional Special Education Advocates, and this is Effective Advocacy for Special Education. This is a 3-part training series, and you should have received parts 1 and 2 in your email within the last few days. Thank you so much for sticking with this and continuing to learn about special education advocacy. It's so important for your child. And I hope you've had a chance to look at our website and possibly join our organization. Like I said earlier, we do have some other trainings available, much more comprehensive than this one. Special education can be very complicated, and if you want to participate in one of our more involved trainings, feel free to sign them up there at the events page. So let's begin with this training now. Well, so what we're going to learn in this training program is follow-up after the team meeting and how to monitor your child's progress. It's extremely important that you make sure that they're doing well. And then if not, reconvene the team and how to do that. So after the team meeting, the district will provide a written notice of the team's decisions and determinations. So if the child was determined eligible, if they've written an IEP to address this areas of concern and deficits, and what the next steps are. So the parent should follow up always with written communication to recap the meeting and the outcome of the meeting. So send an email or a letter just saying, Dear Mrs. Jones, the special ed director of ABC School District, I'm just following up with a letter to clarify and review the team meeting and the decisions made. My child was determined eligible under this category, will receive services, the IEP should be written and be sent home to me, and it just gives you an outline and, a follow-up and some paper trail of, what happened and what's expected. So everybody's on the same page. It's good to have good communication. I see so many situations when I go in as an advocate that the breakdown is miscommunication. So, we need to make sure that we have good communication. Now, once the IEP is implemented and signed by the parent, services and accommodations and skill development should begin. All aspects of the IEP should be implemented by everyone, okay? Sometimes, let's go back here because I have a little tip for you. Sometimes it's a good idea, once you have the team meeting and you have the full IEP in place, to go back and meet again with the teachers and the specialists and whoever's going to be working with your child, and just make sure that they understand your child and they know exactly what's in the IEP. Are they provided with it? Yes. Do they have an obligation to read it and review it and follow it? Yes. But in the real world, there's so many kids that have IEPs in so many situations that usually what happens is kids fall through the cracks. So be proactive. Get a meeting and set up a meeting with everybody and just review everything. So make sure everybody's on the same page and set up some sort of a communication system, either with you and the teacher or the special ed teacher or the therapist. It could be a log, a book, an email system, however you want to do it, phone calls, weekly phone calls, whatever works for everybody. Just get some kind of communication so you know what's going on and they know what's going on, okay? I usually recommend that you put that into the IEP as well. All right, so you've accepted the IEP and the IEP is going to be put into place. Progress monitoring. The school district is going to provide you with progress reports. Now, these are as often as the typically developing students get report cards. So if your district does twice a year or 3 times a year or 4 times a year, that's how often you should get progress reports. And these progress reports are telling you how the student is doing towards meeting the IEP goals, okay? Progress reports help to make sure that the services that they're provided and the accommodations and supports are enabling your child to make good progress and that the placement is appropriate. Now, annually, the team is going to reconvene to review the IEP goals and services and make sure that the child has made progress. And if they have made progress and they've met those goals, then the goals would be modified so that they can be more challenging for the student. And those would be changes that would be made to the IEP. So that's annually. Now, Prior to any removal of service, the school district must reevaluate the student and determine that the student no longer requires the service to make effective progress. So they can't come to you and say, oh, well, we're meeting after 1 year and we're going to change the IEP and we're going to take out speech and language. We don't feel that your child needs speech and language anymore. The school district has an obligation to reevaluate the child in that area. And if the child is, completely typically developing at this point, and no longer requires services, then the school district can make a proposal to take it away. Now, if you reject that, stay put rights come into place. And we're not going to get into all of that. That's a bit complicated right here. But, know that you don't have to necessarily agree with everything that the district proposes. So the 3-year reevaluation is when the children must be reevaluated. And the whole process begins again with eligibility determination, IEP creation, and provision of services. So it's a very long and complicated process, and things do not happen overnight, and sometimes things do get complicated and convoluted. I recommend that you request team meetings or reconvene the team or make good communication a practice. This is your child, and your child only gets one chance to get an education, and it's so important. It's the foundation for their life. So make sure that you review all parts of the proposal carefully, always follow up, monitor the progress. Like I said before, never sign the IEP at the meeting and never reject the first IEP in full. Understand your child's progress. So make sure you're monitoring it as well at home in their homework, keeping homework samples. You use multiple methods to make sure that you're monitoring your child's progress, and document it. And understand how the school is monitoring progress. It should state in the IEP if they're going to collect data, if they're going to use observations, if they're going to use work samples, testing, office referrals, whatever they're going to use to monitor progress. Make sure that that is also clarified and that you understand. I hope this has been helpful for you, and I do recommend, like I said, that you go to NAPSIA, join. There's free options. There's other trainings available. Like I said, this is a very complicated process, and if you have a child with special education who has disabilities, it's in your best interest to know as much as you can about this process. And in the long run, it's going to save you tons and tons of money, because if you have to hire an advocate or have to hire an attorney, it's very, very expensive. And I do recommend that if your case is complicated or you have disputes with the school district, that you have someone with you, either an advocate or an attorney. And we have lists of advocates on our advocate directory, so you can find one hopefully close to you in your state. But definitely join our organization and participate in our forums and blogs and training programs. And I hope to see you on the inside. Look in a few days, you'll be getting another email with some more good, helpful information. And I hope that you've enjoyed this training series, and I look forward to seeing you. Thank you. Take care.